Good morning, I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching as always. Obviously, yesterday was the anniversary of the creation of England. I think I misspoke on an earlier video. The comments let me know that I misspoke and said that England had been around for about 10,000 years. It might have been something I watched the night before.
After 10,000 years, I'm free! It's time to conquer Earth!
I don't know. I think it's just over 1,000 years. Alright, so I do apologise for that. What I wanted to do in this particular video is talk a bit about England, and does England actually exist, or has it been eaten by this United Kingdom? I think that's the question before the jury. A brief disclaimer before we get into the video. I always viewed myself as British first, and I still do. I wear that with pride. I think it'd be dishonest to claim that I'm English when I'm of English, Welsh, and Irish descent. I've got great grandparents from the Irish Republic before it was the Irish Republic, when it was in the United Kingdom, and I've got a grandfather from Wales. So honestly, I've never felt English because even though most of my family is from England, I'm a Mongol of the British Isles. I think you'll be very hard pressed to find a purebred Englishman or woman in this United Kingdom, because the home nations, the Celtic nations, and England have interbred and intermingled to such a degree that it would be an exercise in futility. When I was a child, I was taken to London. It was one of my earliest memories of being taken to the gates of Buckingham Palace by my father, and he pointed up at the flag mast and said to me, "What's that flag?" And he was pointing to the royal standard of the king or queen, as it was back then. And then he said something. He said, "That means the queen's at home, basically, she's at the palace." And then he took me by the hand and says, "Always remember, nobody's above the queen. Nobody is above the queen, unless you're counting God." And that always stuck with me. And I was immensely proud of the fact that we had a monarchy. Bear in mind, I was 5 at the time. I was 5 or 6, and I had a little bobby hat on. And we'd been to Trafalgar Square to feed the pigeons. And then Labour got rid of them in the early 2000s. I think it was Livingston when he was mayor. He got rid of them. Why did Labour wreck everything? Why did Labour wreck everything? That's all they do. But I digress. The point I'm trying to say is that England and the United Kingdom have always been intermingled, and it was only when England played Scotland, I think it was Euro 96. I would have been 14 at the time, and I thought it was odd because up until that point, I'd always presumed England and Britain were pretty much the same thing. Bells and whistles here and there, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, or whatnot. But now we've got an international game between Scotland and England, and it was a bit of a head scratcher for me.
James? For England.
For England, Alec.
I was thinking to myself, how can this be when Britain is the country? How can it be that you've got an international between essentially two domestic teams? And then I looked into it, and it makes sense when you look into the context, the grandfather rule. We originated the game on these islands, and so we get to dictate how we compete internationally. But when you look at other things like the Olympics, we have to compete as Britain if we're going to compete at all. A lot of the sentiments of "I'm English, not British," or people asserting "I'm English, not British," I think it's entirely confected, and I think it's entirely by design. And when I say entirely by design, I'm obviously referring to Tony Blair and his constitutional reforms of the 1990s, which carved out Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland for devolution and left England undevolved. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of devolution. More layers of bureaucracy, more layers of government, more layers of I can never say that word. The lawmakers. More layers, we don't need any. If you're going to devolve, you need to devolve in a smart way. Devolve planning, devolve funding, devolve tax raising powers so you can actually administer things locally. That's what you should be doing. But a lot of the ill sentiments has been confected by devolution. Because if you look at the home nations now, if you look at Wales, if you look at Scotland, if you look at Northern Ireland, we've got separatists in Scotland, we've got separatists in Wales, and we've got terrorists running Northern Ireland. I don't like any of it, and I think it's entirely by design. Because with the devolved settlements for the home nations, what you actually get is you get left-leaning politicians basically dictating to London, to England, that we can't do anything remotely right-leaning, otherwise they're going to separate. Or that's the argument for always doing what the home nations want and not doing what England wants. And it created that disparity. And when you speak to people in Scotland or Wales or Northern Ireland, you always get two different viewpoints. Like you have in England, you get people that view themselves as English, and you get people who view themselves as British. And it's very much the same in the Celtic nations as well. You get one or the other. And when I look at the experiment of multiculturalism in Britain, with the native peoples of Britain in this United Kingdom, it makes me immensely proud of everything that we did achieve together as a United Kingdom. United under a Scottish king about 100 years before the Union of Parliaments in 1707. And I always wore that badge very, very well. And I was always very, very at home in having that layered and that nuanced identity of being English and British. But that's changed. And it's not changed because I don't want Britain to succeed as the United Kingdom. It's changed because of how politicised it's all become. The banter that you used to get between the home nations has been heavily politicised. So when Scotland used to say, or still say, that when we play football, they want anyone but England to win, it used to be a bit of a wink and a nod, a bit of a tongue in a cheek, the Braveheart mentality. And it used to be, that's just the rebellious Scots kicking up a fuss. Hardy ha, ha ha ha, isn't that funny? But now it's got a more sinister undertone because of the weaponisation of that banter. When I look at England, and you see it in movies, England was always synonymous with Britain because it was absorbed up into the United Kingdom with the Union. And up until recently, it was the same with the home nations, and they had it as well. So a lot of the ill feeling that's been fostered in Britain is deliberate. This is why Tony Blair interfered with the British voters. People look after their own interest. So if you've got Scotland not voting in the unified collective interest, they're fighting the English, very romanticised view of fighting the English a la Braveheart. And it's the same to a lesser degree with the Welsh and the Irish. And we're all fighting each other, and we're not focused on who the real enemy is. That is why I will always support Britain. I'll always support the United Kingdom. I was born in '83, and it's the only country that I was born into. Yes, I live in England. That's a happy accident. That's a circumstance. But it doesn't change the fundamentals that I wouldn't change the United Kingdom for anything. And that doesn't mean I'm not English. It means that I am pragmatic and I accept the reality I was born into. When you get the separatists in Scotland or the separatists in England and they say, I want to be alone, I want to separate off, they're in love with an idea or a concept that they don't really have any frame of reference for. They're putting a women of prayer on it being better than what we've got as the collective union. I'm digressing slightly, but it's my video and this is what I'm going to do. Even things, I'm going to challenge you with the t-shirt. It's my metalhead years. I'm going to challenge you with the t-shirt now. This is the t-shirt, if you can see that. It says Made in England. Made in England. And it's a nice Union Jack colour. And it's obviously a metalhead t-shirt. It was always England. The Union Jack was always advertising England. And you see it in the movies as well. So there was always that cross-pollination between the English and the British identity. But that doesn't mean I'm not proud of English achievements. When I look at theatre, when I look at actors, when I look at poetry or prose, don't unsubscribe. I was always more of a Dickens person than a Shakespeare person. But there is an exception. There is an exception. I think it's from Richard III. I'm going to play this clip now. Hopefully, I will not be copyright claimed on it. I'm going to play the clip now.
This royal throne of kings, this sceptred isle, this earth of majesty, this seat of Mars, this other Eden, demi-paradise, this fortress built by nature for herself against infection and the hand of war, this happy breed of men, this little world, this precious stone set in the silver sea, which serves it in the office of a wall or as a moat defensive to a house against the envy of less happier lands. This blessed plot, this earth, this realm, this England.
As I referenced in the video earlier on today, this was our inheritance. This film, narrated by Sir Laurence Olivier, was the introduction to Her Majesty Elizabeth II's coronation. This is what they inherited. And if you look at what the United Kingdom is today, it is a far cry from, as Laurence Olivier, quoting Shakespeare, says, demi-paradise, this Eden, this realm, this England, and now this United Kingdom. It's all been sold off, strip-mined, and now the current generation can't even buy a house in their own country, in this seat of Mars, because of our rulers, our current rulers. And it's a shame, and it is a disgrace, and that's what we're fighting for, in my view, is to become proud of our country. I will never apologise for empire. I will never apologise for ruling the world. You'll never get an apology out of me. I won't be guilty about that. In fact, if you are going to have an empire, you want the biggest empire in the world, more power to me, more power to my country. I will never apologise for that. All of the things that came from empire were brilliant, in my view. We ended the slave trade, and we ended it because we had the Industrial Revolution in Britain. Okay? Because of British innovation and invention, we ended slavery. That's a plus. That puts us on the right side of history, in my view. I'll end this here. So when I'm thinking about what I'm proud of now in England, it's all about thoughts, and it's all about feelings, and it's all about what we had and what we could have again. When I look at the current state of things, all of the things that I used to have pride in, You could say I was naive. It was never good, and you just get wiser with age. But I used to be proud of our education system. I used to be proud of our armed forces. We hardly have armed forces now. I used to be proud of our monarchy. I know there's probably a lot of Republicans on the channel. Unsubscribe if you don't like it, don't care. I used to be proud of the monarchy. I used to be proud of the police. I used to be proud of our government, our democracy, our buildings, our architecture, our castles. When you look at castles all over the country, this is all over Britain, by the way, it's not just England. You just get a sense of what it was like. I mean, my local castle, it's ruins, but I go up there every now and again for a walk, and you just get a sense of scope and scale and history. And it's just a few stones. There's nothing. There's a pub built into the side of it now. How British can you get? But it oversaw. When you get up there, it's like a glorious sight. You can see the entire town, and you just get a sense of how great England and Britain is. This is what should be inherited to future generations. This is what they've been stripped of. Or walking in the Lake District. Have you ever been to the Lake District and just walked in the Lake District and lost yourself in the mountains and just gone up there fishing, wild trout fishing in the Lake District, which is you and a few of your buddies, cut off from society, no phone signal, a tent, catching and cooking your fish. Magic. And I recommend it. Highly recommend it. England, we might be onto something with our country. So I'm going to end this video when I say it's not a flag, and it's not even the land. I'm going to play this clip now.
Asgard is not a place. Never was. This could be Asgard. Asgard is where our people stand.
It's a people. We are a people. And England is wherever our people are. Alright? Now, if you like this video, make me aware, comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. I'm hoping talking sense. Thank you for your time.